The notification by the Pentagon, based on a presidential determination that the United States is in a non-international armed conflict, NIAC, with designated drug cartels, marks a radical shift from a traditional law enforcement approach to a military-centric one. This declaration effectively labels cartel members as unlawful combatants, granting the U.S. military expansive authorities previously reserved for conflict zones, such as those used against Al-Qaeda and associated forces. The administration's stated rationale is that the cartel's actions, particularly the flow of deadly drugs like fentanyl and violent incursions, constitute an armed attack against the United States. This assertion is highly controversial because it attempts to redefine transnational criminal activity as an armed conflict under the Law of Armed Conflict, LOAC, or International Humanitarian Law, IHL. Legal experts widely challenge this interpretation, arguing that drug trafficking, while destructive, does not typically meet the threshold for organized violence and sustained intensity required to trigger a NIAC. Such a move is seen by critics as a pretext to open the door to extraordinary use of force authority for the executive branch, bypassing the traditional constraints of civilian law enforcement and potentially usurping Congress's war powers authority. Reasons for the policy shift. The decision to elevate the conflict to a military engagement is driven by three primary factors. The fentanyl crisis as a national security threat. The devastating death toll from fentanyl and other illicit drugs in the U.S. is treated as an existential threat. By linking drug shipments and violence to armed attack, the administration seeks to justify lethal military intervention as self-defense, arguing that the harm inflicted by cartels is analogous to that caused by terrorist groups. Expanded executive war powers. The declaration provides a domestic legal justification for the U.S. military to conduct lethal strikes and detain individuals without trial, circumventing the normal legal process, such as arrests by the Coast Guard, DEA, or FBI, and the constitutional constraints on using the military for domestic law enforcement. This allows for a case-by-case decision-making approach to be replaced by a standing authority to target cartel members anywhere. Prior terrorist designation, this declaration builds upon the previous designation of several Latin American drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, FTOs, and specially designated global terrorists, SDGTs. The armed conflict determination is the logical, though legally tenuous, next step, translating the FTO designation's financial and sanctions power into military operational authority. Consequences and implications. The policy shift carries profound legal, ethical, and foreign policy consequences. Erosion of international law. Applying the law of armed conflict to criminal organizations undermines the established distinction between warfare and law enforcement. If cartel members are deemed unlawful combatants and targeted lethally while not directly participating in hostilities, the U.S. risks setting a precedent that devalues civilian protections globally. Strain on diplomatic relations. Unilateral U.S. military operations on foreign soil, particularly in allied nations like Mexico or in disputed areas like Venezuelan waters, where U.S. strikes have occurred, represent a violation of sovereignty. This can severely damage bilateral cooperation, leading to distrust and potential withdrawal of support for joint anti-narcotics efforts. Lack of due process. Defining cartel members as targets rather than criminal suspects means they lose the rights associated with domestic law and international human rights law. This raises significant human rights concerns regarding targeted killings without judicial review. Military overreach. It exposes U.S. service members to legal jeopardy, as their actions, if not firmly grounded in IHL, could be interpreted as extrajudicial killings under the domestic law of the host nation. Prediction and solutions. Prediction. Given the political impetus and the complexity of disengaging from a conflict declared under presidential authority, the current trajectory suggests an escalation of targeted military or paramilitary actions, likely focusing on high-value cartel targets and interdiction efforts in international waters. This approach will likely result in increased tactical successes, e.g., drug seizures, high-profile killings, but will fail to achieve strategic success by dismantling the cartels. Instead, it will likely lead to fragmentation and increased violence in the regions where cartels operate, as leadership vacuums are filled by more brutal factions, replicating the decapitation strategy failures see historically. Legal and congressional challenges to the authority are inevitable. Sustainable solutions. A sustainable and effective long-term strategy must move beyond kinetic military action and prioritize non-kinetic tools. Target financial networks. The most potent non-military solution is employing the counterterrorism financing toolbox. This involves aggressive use of FTO and SDGT designations to impose sanctions, block assets in U.S. and foreign banks, and disrupt the cartel's ability to purchase weapons, bribe officials, and sustain operations. Enhance intelligence and judicial cooperation. Replace unilateral military strikes with a reinforced partnership model. The U.S. should invest in shared intelligence training and vetting of specialized law enforcement units, police, not military, and partner nations. The goal must be to build strong, incorruptible investigative capacity to target the entire cartel network, not just the leadership, and ensure judicial prosecution. Address root causes and demand. Reduce the demand for illicit drugs domestically through massive investment in addiction treatment, prevention, and public health programs. Concurrently, support economic development in marginalized areas of partner nations to provide viable alternatives to cartel recruitment, weakening their societal influence. Uphold the rule of law. U.S. operations must be channeled through law enforcement agencies, like the DEA and FBI, supported by the military, e.g. logistics, surveillance, but operating under law enforcement mandates, ensuring that suspects are apprehended for prosecution, not targeted for execution.